I will try to explain this review I'm doing game by game. Once again, the German Bundesliga, we had the first match day after the winter break. We did have plenty of away wins, actually 7 away wins. Here are the results. And just 2 home wins, Schalke and Frankfurt won at home. And all the other ones were away wins and no draws at all. So this is a bit curious, it is a bit funny. Of course, it can happen. But away sides did win this time by 10-16. Oh, 16. They won by 16-10, but the result was 10-16. So clearly in favor of the away sides. I had expected the home sides to win by more or less 1.5 goals, by 13.85 to 12.46. They played also a bit better, but not better than expected, but worse than expected, but still 0 points, 7-2 goals better than away sides. Still they lost by 6, it happens, but it reminds us again that somehow we have the impression that recently, or this season, a bit more than it did, following the World Cup, in which the defensive strategies more or less prevailed. In general, as a general observation or general conclusion from that. But we have that confirmed here or there in some leagues in the German Bundesliga. It had not been such, but now we have the another match day which verifies. And we had obviously quite these few examples where the away sides won by 1-0, like Dortmund and Gladbach, both won 1-0, and both were clearly outclassed by their opponents. And just to get back up here, I will once again try to explain that quickly, to make it short for you. But here are the goal expectancies. They are derived from those stats I'm expecting. So I can turn those expected stats into goal expectancies. And as I can turn those expected shots on target, expected corners, crosses, and possession, can turn this into goal expectancies, which they really are. I can turn the stats that really had been given during the games, which I take from stats sites I'm referring to, and I can turn these into, sorry for that, I'm not doing this here, I'm doing it down there, but I can turn those expected stats into goal expectancies, and I can turn the actual stats into those goal expectancies. So I have one expected value and one should value, and there is a result. So we got 3 things to compare, and this everything refers to that new system I'm working with, which is based on stats. Here, just to show you this, are expected match stats. And I consider more or less, well, it's just a percentage, and this is measuring a superiority. And here it's given the pure match, expected match stats and expected match stats, which are close to each other. If there is a small difference, this is based on the conversion rate that is still a bit different for for the single teams. But here are the match stats they produced in the end. And those I got made as pure match stats and also including the result. If you want so, and those are together, they are also close to this, but Bayern had been a bit better than they had been, a bit more than what they had been favored by, and they also got the right result because those 2 stats here are going along very well. They had been 24.37% better with or without goals. Here I'm taking in the goals. Leverkusen had been a lot better than expected by being 39.37% better than Gladbach in this game, and I expected only 18.18%. even including the goals. This is a big mismatch because it was a fully wrong result. 0-1 was a wrong result. But including the goals, they still had been better than expected. So it means, even if you want to translate that, even the result did not help Gladbach out here. They were simply, they should have lost, that's all. I mean, you can take that from any other perspective, but you can say, well, sometimes a 0-1 can still be right if you say, well, we had the result, and the stats may have slightly went their way, but still we deserved this win somehow. But here they didn't. And if you want the Werder game, which was also a 0-1, this was rather the other way around. They were clearly better than expected, including the goals. They were even a lot more better, but they should have won by more than this one goal. Very obvious. And Frankfurt, that was terrible, even including the goals, doesn't help them out. They were simply bad. I expected them like this, and they were the worst side. Even including the goals, they were still worse because the stats were against them. And so on and so on. So those are things I'm looking at every week, and I'm taking this down, of course, and then have those long-term stats and graphs and so on, which you can. Here we can once again, this is turning the stats into goals they should have scored. So, and looking at this column, it tells us Bayern were even 0.3 goals better than expected. So they should have, I expected them to win by 1, they should have won by maybe 1.3 goals. 1.37 it is here, so this is fine. They were even better. Here, Leverkusen were almost 1 goal better than expected. As they lost, there is heavy values here, which do not tell us a lot, but it's just a comparison result over effort, result over expectancies. But we largely look at this column here. Leverkusen were 0.96 goals better than expected, so they should have won instead of lost. Werder were 0.86 goals better than expected, so they should have won by more than 1 goal, but 1 goal was fine too. They have the 3 points, that's all they wanted, but they should have won by more. Here, it's a fully wrong result, sadly. I mean, here you can argue a bit, because you can say, Frankfurt, I know those strikers, they always score when they have a chance, and this is what they did, and they did it in the first half. So you can say, after the break, they didn't care, they had the win, and the win was theirs. But still, the stats are so clearly on Freiburg's side that I simply wouldn't say, well, you would rather say, well, maybe Freiburg should have scored another one, and then we'll see what happens also. But it was a bad effort. But of course, 3 goals in the first half, then people do not even look at the second half. They simply say, and I'm to be honest, I haven't seen the game really. You just see the goals in the highlights, and then you say, okay, nice goals, and let's go on. Also, Stuttgart against Mainz was a wrong result, because Stuttgart were 1.08 goals better than expected, which is quite a lot. I thought it was about an even game. The result proves me somehow right, but not the game stats. Stuttgart had an incredible amount of chances and shots on goal and so on. This was massive. You can look it up here. They had like, I expected 14. No, this was, 30 instead of 15. 30, 16. This is what I meant. This was an amazing lot. 16 is also a lot because it's even more than expected, but those 30 here are amazing. 8-6 on target is also way above what I expected, so they should have scored some more. Also the corners and also the crosses even more. So in all respects, this was an over. This was an excellent over for anyone who had it, and Stuttgart should have won the game. Although here it was the same like in Freiburg when I said, let's see what happens if they put another one back. Mainz were winning by 3, but some lucky goals too, you have to admit. But still, and those two goals for Stuttgart came pretty late. Still, you would say, well, they should have pulled out something from this game. Augsburg-Düsseldorf, 0.66, I had favored Augsburg. They played about this much better, 0.71, a bit more, but Düsseldorf were looking for their chance and they took it. And they also tried to win, you have to say. So in this case, you can't say, well, well, it is wrong, the result. It's still Augsburg's game, but it was okay compared to expected, and they had their chances and they took them. So Leipzig against Dortmund was the most, well, the one I disliked most. I mean, you would have said Gladbach was even more lucky, but here you could say, well, I was so clearly on the right side, or well, also what I was hoping for in some sense, but of course it's going along with the proposals I'm making, and so you can say the heroes lucky here, unlucky, but this was in the past already, because when this happened. Anyway, it felt terrible. Simply, they can't score. They had chances for 2-1 win, and they lost 0-1, so they should have won 2-1. Nuremberg against Hertha was actually, it felt like Hertha were clearly superior, and the stats would rather say, well, it had been close, even a point for. Didn't feel like this while watching this. And in Schalke Wolfsburg, Wolfsburg had the better stats, so I expected it to be about an even game. They were even favorites, so they may have won the game instead of losing it. Anyway, this is the way to look at it, and later on, all those stats here will go into. Of course, I will use them for the update of all the parameters need to be updated, but for the single teams and for the whole league, and so all the parameters are kept alive and going. And so for the calculation for the next games, this is relevant. The conversion rate is the most touchy thing, which is given here. You can hardly read that, and it's a bit difficult to explain this. Of course, when you have chances for like Leverkusen had 2.47 goals and they don't score a single one, then you have a big mismatch between goals they scored and goals they should have scored. So their conversion rate will suffer some damage, but not a big one. It's just a small adjustment to that, because I say they had been unlucky and this should be reflected in those stats. But still you would say, well, maybe there's something not going well with them, or something's missing, what they always say. But usually you would say it's bad luck, but here you could also say, well, if it happens again and again and again, and somewhere you would conclude maybe something wrong with their strikers. That's all. It's going into the stats. You can look it up every week, or we can look it up and see how the teams develop. And after a while, you get a profile, and from this profile you can read the team's shape, and also what we expected and how they. Right, there's some ups and downs maybe, or those lines are crossing each other, or whatever happens. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching this one, and see you soon.